Class, this is BA 3302. How you doing? This is going to be the last video, at least for this year. And I'm Stephen Wales, and we're talking about commercial law, lesson 13, video 4. And we're going to talk about revocation. This video will include 2 cases. Pretty interesting. Hold on to your seats. Okay, what if you accepted goods, but then you change your mind? Can you revoke your acceptance and then get your money back? Well, you can in 2 circumstances, in 2 situations. Number 1, the buyer may revoke if the buyer reasonably believed the nonconformity would be cured. That is, the goods delivered to you as a buyer did not conform with your order. And you reasonably believe that they're going to cure that nonconformity, but then it ends up not being cured within a reasonable time, so you revoke your acceptance. You know, I mean, a year might have passed or whatever. You're like, hey, you've had plenty of time to fix this problem. I revoke my acceptance. Come take your stuff. And then the second time when the buyer could revoke acceptance and get his money back would be buyer accepted because buyer was unable to discover the problem, the latent defect that could not reasonably have been discovered before acceptance, even with a reasonable inspection. I actually mentioned this on the previous video, but let me say it again. Buyer accepted because the buyer was unable to discover a latent defect. A latent defect is like it was an undiscovered defect. We had a case previously which we talked about that there was no spare tire. Well, the buyer didn't realize that because who's going to dig through the trunk and lift up the carpet and look up under that thing and, I don't know, unscrew the little clips or whatever to get under that big piece of cardboard and then realize, oh, there's no spare tire down here. People don't look for a spare tire. At least not everybody's going to look for a spare tire. So even if you inspect the car and you drove it and you went around and you kicked the tires and you sat in the car and smelled it and tried all the gauges and dials and everything seems to be working, not everybody's going to look for a spare tire. And I don't think it would be unreasonable to say, well, you know, I forgot to look in the trunk to see if there was a spare tire. Anyway, that's a latent defect because it was undiscovered. So if there's an undiscovered defect, then the buyer can revoke his acceptance if it was a defect that could not have been reasonably discovered, you know, with a normal inspection. A spare tire might not quite be that serious. I mean, that's pretty easy to discover. A better example might be, you know, one of those situations where it's a used car and it's a lemon and it has a problem and then it has another problem and another problem and and the problems just keep going. Maybe sometimes that's a situation where you couldn't have known the car was going to have a chronic problem and be a lemon, in other words. Okay, the first case I want to talk to you about is a mobile home case. This is called North River Homes Incorporated versus Borsage. And this case happened in Mississippi in 1992. I like to mention again, it's important, Mississippi, 1992. Now, it's not Texas law because it's not Texas, but that doesn't matter because we're talking about the Uniform Commercial Code, which is true in 49 states, or it's, you know, consistent. Also 1992, so we're talking about 30 years ago, roughly. North River Homes versus Borsage, Mississippi, 92. It's a mobile home case. Now stop and think about that. A mobile home. Is a mobile home governed by Article 2 of the Uniform Commercial Code? The UCC, remember, Article 2 covers what? It covers commercial transactions involving the sale of goods in which at least one party is a merchant. Okay, is a mobile home a good? Yes. A good is any portable property. So even though a mobile home has to sit on real estate, the building itself is actually mobile, so it's not real estate, it's a good. Okay, it's a strange kind of situation because it's attached to the ground kind of like a fixture, but you would never call it a fixture because the whole point of a mobile home is it really is mobile, even though it appears to be kind of like, you know, you hooked up the electricity and the plumbing, but all that stuff can be unhooked. Okay, here's the story. And again, is one of the parties a merchant? Yes. The people who sold the mobile home were merchants. Let me pause and deal with the sun.